Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about Supplier Predefined Functional Interface. Let's see the content of this functional interface first. In this interface, we can see that there is only one abstract method is given. The name of this abstract method is get method and return type is t-type argument. So from this abstract method, we can conclude that the job of this supplier functional interface is to do some sort of an operation and return a value without accepting any type of type arguments, and the generic type it is accepting is the value we are going to return in get method. So let's understand the concept of this functional interface with the help of an example. In this example, I will take generic type as a string. Let's keep the name as display. What we are going to do, we will pass a simple string value. What we are going to do, we are simply pass one string argument. Let's say argument name will be Java 8. You can see that I haven't taken any type of type arguments. We are just returning one string argument. Now let's call this lambda expression with the help of an abstract method. The name of the supplier abstract method is get. So what we will do, we'll call lambda expression reference name dot get method. Now let's execute this code to verify our output. Display Java 8. Now what if instead of a string I want to return an integer value? Then what we will do, I will just remove a supplier generic type from string to integer, and here I want to add two different values. We already know that we can't pass any type of type argument in supplier functional interface, so we will pass those values outside lambda expression. So let's write two different variable name. Int a, let's say variable name I have given here 20, and another variable name I will pass b equal to 30. I have taken two different variable name and I've saved the values 20 and 30. Now what we will do, now I will add those two values inside a lambda expression. We have already talked about this, that whenever we are mentioning variables outside lambda expression and we are using inside lambda expression, those values will become effectively final. What does that mean? That means we can't change those values inside lambda expressions. We can't change those values inside lambda expression. Now let's execute this code. We already know the output of this value is 20 plus 30, 50 it will come. Answer came as 50. So from these two examples, we can conclude that the job of supplier predefined functional interface is provide some sort of an operation and return a value without accepting any type of type arguments. Now there are some other predefined functional interface also exist which will support this supplier functional interface. What are those predefined functional interfaces? Those predefined functional interfaces are int supplier. Int supplier we are going to use when we already know the return type. If we know the return type is int only, then we will write int supplier instead of supplier predefined functional interface, and if we know instead of int, if the return type is double, then we will use double supplier. If we know the return type is long, then we will use long supplier. So let's execute this code one by one. Now if we know the return type of a plus b is integer, in those scenarios we'll do nothing. We will just pass this lambda expression here, and the name of this int supplier abstract method is addition get as int. Now let's execute this code. Answer came 50. Now what if the return type is double, then instead of int supplier we are going to use double supplier, and the method name of double is get as double. Display 50.0. Now what if instead of double supplier return type is long? Long supplier abstract method is get as long. Now what are the things we learned in this video? We have learned about supplier predefined functional interface. This supplier predefined functional interface will return a value after doing an operation without accepting any type of type arguments, and if we already know what type of argument it is going to return, then instead of taking supplier functional interface we can take int supplier, long supplier, double supplier as per our code requirement. If we know that return type is int, then we will take int supplier. If we know the return type as long, then we can use long supplier. If we know the return type is double, then we can use double supplier.
Hi. Now we will summarize all the predefined functional interfaces we covered. The first predefined functional interfaces we covered is predicate. We saw the job of the predicate. The predicate takes one argument, and after that it will do some sort of an operation. After that it will return a boolean condition. So the name of the abstract method that predicate functional interface carries is test, and there are three default method also is there inside in this functional interface. The name of those default methods are and, negate, or, and one static method. The name of that static method is equal. We saw all the examples and implementations how to use this predefined functional interfaces. Now what if instead of one argument we want to pass two argument, and after that we wanted to do a calculation? In that scenario, instead of predicate we will use another functional interface, and name of that functional interface is by predicate. The only difference between predicate and by predicate is predicate will accept only one argument and by predicate will accept two arguments. Now if we already know what type of argument we are accepting, then we can change the name of the predefined functional interface. What does that mean? That means if we know that only if we are taking int type of argument, then instead of taking predicate we can take int predicate functional interface, and if we are taking double type of argument we are accepting, then we will take double predicate functional interfaces, and instead of that if we are taking long, then we will use long predicate functional interface. We have seen all the examples and implementations of all these predefined functional interface. The next functional interface we covered is consumer. The job of this functional interface is to take an argument, do some sort of an operation, and it will not return anything. The name of that abstract method that this consumer predefined functional interface carries is accept abstract method, and one default method, and the name of the default method is and then. The job of and then default method is addition of two different operations, or we can also say that addition of two different lambda expressions. So what do we understood of this consumer predefined functional interface? The job of this consumer predefined functional interface is take one argument, do some sort of an operation, but it will not return anything. Now what if instead of taking one argument we need to take two arguments for doing an operation? For that we will take by consumer predefined functional interface. The difference is exactly same, the difference between what we have saw in between predicate and by predicate. In consumer and by consumer also the difference is same only. Consumer will take only one argument and by consumer will take two arguments. Now what if we already know what type of argument we are accepting? For example, if we know that only int type of argument we are coming, we will see in this project, then instead of taking consumer predefined functional interface we will use int consumer, and if that argument that we are accepting is double, then we will take double consumer. or long, then we will take long consumer. We have seen all the examples and implementation of these predefined functional interfaces. Now, the next predefined functional interfaces we covered is function. The job of this predefined functional interface is accept an argument, provide an operation, and after that it will return an output. In the previous predefined functional interface consumer, we have seen that we will take an argument, we will provide an operation, but it will not return anything. In this functional interface, we will take an argument, we will do an operation, and we will return an output. And that output will be anything, but it will not be boolean. If we wanted to return a boolean output, then instead of taking this function predefined functional interface, we will take predicate predefined functional interface. Now, what if instead of taking one argument, I wanted to take two arguments for doing an operation? For that, we will take bifunctional interface. Now, what if we already know that what type of argument we are accepting? For example, if it is an int argument, then we will use int function. If it is double argument, then it will be double function. If it is long argument, then we will take long function. We have covered all the examples, implementations of these predefined functional interfaces in previous videos. Now, the next predefined functional interface we are going to talk about is supplier. The job of this predefined functional interface is to, without accepting any argument, it will do some sort of an operation and it will return output. The abstract method that this supplier predefined interface is carrying is name is get method. Now, we have seen how the supplier, we have seen the examples of supplier, how it works and how we are going to use this in our project. Now, what if we know what type of return type, what type of output we are providing from this predefined functional interface? For example, if we know the output we are going to give is int only, then instead of supplier predefined functional interface, we are going to use int supplier. If the output is going to deliver is double, then we will use double supplier. If the output we are going to provide is long, then we will use long supplier. And if output we are going to deliver is boolean, then we will use boolean supplier. After this also, there are many predefined functional interfaces exist in Java 8 features. The only way to cover all these predefined functional interface is to use these functional interfaces in our day-to-day projects. Or we can also say that we need to play or practice all those predefined functional interfaces, and there are many other predefined functional interfaces also exist. The only way to master all these predefined functional interface to use them in our day-to-day projects. So this is the end of the predefined functional interface concept. In the next video, we are going to talk about method reference and constructor reference. So keep watching Java tutorials. Thank you.